Alright, pretty eye, goddamn.
Damn,
so later, I'm gonna have goddamn pretty eye me take though. I can't deny her though. She's my bestie. She's my bestie. That's my bestie. Your pair of eyes had me paralyzed. Toxic nigga, but you made me to a better guy. Smoke, but with you on forever, ever. I can watch you all day, girl, like you're televised. You think like this nigga, they ain't never lied. I left the bitches alone, I had to pick a side. Look in your eyes, girl, you were hypnotized. Of course, it was your breasts, hips, and them damn thighs. Close my eyes, I'm still mesmerized. Get mad at my bestie, I tried. That's my bestie, my pretty.
I heard she's the one, she's got it going on. That's my pretty eyes, baby. Yeah. She don't take no mess. My bestie is the best. That's my pretty eyes, baby. Yeah. I heard she's the one, she's got it going on. That's my pretty eyes, baby.
Put your eyes on me, I'm pretty as tea. Hey, what's up, everybody? It is day 4 of the Karen Read trial. Karen Read is accused of running over her boyfriend 22 miles an hour backwards in a snowstorm. Yeah, and there's a lot of crap going on. But anyways, today they go for a jury view and whatnot, but I always start later. That way we can skip right through that. So I hope you join me. Hit the like, share the live, comment down below. And if you haven't, please subscribe because I'm on my road to 1K and I'm going to get there by the end of the year. But I appreciate all the support I get. Thank you so very much.
You have joined the meeting as an attendee and will be muted throughout the meeting.
Oh, thanks.
The host would like you to unmute your microphone. You are unmuted.
You are unmuted. Unmuted.
Please be seated. Court is in session.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For the record, before the court is Commonwealth versus Karen Read, 22 CR 117. The parties are present. The jury is not present. The matter is on for trial.
Thank you. So good morning. I heard the council wanted to see me about something.
Yes, please.
All right, why don't you come on over to sidebar?
Oh, Lord, this sidebar crap. The sidebar crap. God, that's a lot of people all in one little spot. I didn't know that there was going to be a sidebar so early in the morning. Heard it's the mom and you got it going on. There we go. Another sidebar? Are you serious?
What? You absolutely did not. Come on.
Were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday? Yes. Everyone nodded affirmatively or said yes. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did any of you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday?
Nope.
Thank you. Everyone said no. All right, folks, as you know, this morning we are going on a view. And a view is simply, we're going to a place that you've heard about and that you will continue to hear about during the course of the trial. The purpose of the view is to help you better understand the evidence which you'll hear during the course of the trial, and to help you appreciate the location and its surroundings. So the view that we're going on is part of the case, and it means that the observations that you make there can be used and considered by you in your deliberations on this case in reaching a verdict. So we're going to,
Like somebody
you've
going
heard,
22
34
miles
Fairview Road
backwards in
in
that small
Canton.
little area
The lawyers and I will accompany you. For
and
the
not end up in
Commonwealth, will
the
be
freaking
accompanied by
lawn.
Attorney Brennan, and ADA Lally, ADA Schillinger, and for the defense, Attorney Yannetti and Attorney Little. The lawyers will have the opportunity, Mr. Yannetti and Mr. Brennan, have the opportunity to point out various things that they may want you to direct your attention to. Otherwise, there's no conversation between the lawyers and the jurors. So it's simply in a few minutes, you'll hear a little bit from each Mr. Brennan and Mr. Yannetti about what they want you to look at. And then when we get there, they'll direct you, look in this direction. They won't be able to testify to you, but they'll direct you on what they want you to look at. While you're in the view, you're not to take any notes, you're not to take any pictures, you're not to conduct any independent investigation at all during the view or any time during the trial. You're not to return to this scene or ask anybody to go back there for you. Today's your chance. You'll see photographs during the course of the trial, I bet, but today's your chance to really look at everything. So the best way to summarize a view is that your job is to simply stop and look. It's really no more complicated than that. So your responsibility is to see the place, observe it carefully, and to remember what you see. Now, during the trip to and from the view, and while at the view, you're not to discuss this case or anything about it with other jurors. We'll be accompanied by court officers who will direct you, and the court officers are there for all of us. So you'll be under their supervision until you're returned back here. So that's basically it. We'll be leaving in a few minutes, but first, before Madam Clerk swears the court officers in, Mr. Brennan, do you want to make a view opening?
May I?
Please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Her Honor explained to you, we're going to go to 34 Fairview Road. We have some exhibits that are already in evidence. You haven't had a long time to look at them, study them. But essentially, we're going to go to 34 Fairview Road. I ask you to pay attention to the street, the front yard of the home. And you'll see to the left side of the front yard in the corner, there'll be a car. It's the Lexus that we've spoken about, the defendant's Lexus. And you'll also see a flagpole and a fire hydrant. And so I'd ask you to take a look from different vantage points. Take a look from that area where the flagpole is, from where the fire hydrant is. And you'll see on the street before the grass is a little berm, concrete that comes up a little bit. I'd ask you just to note that when you go there. One thing I'd suggest is April 25th, 2025, not January 22nd, 2022.
He never
So
stands at the
weather
mic.
will be very different. The temperature will be different. The conditions will be different. We're going to go there probably at 10 o'clock. It won't be the same visibility. It won't be the same elements and the same colors. Keep that in mind.
Oh, yeah. You remember the snow, guys. Remember the snow.
That actually you look at. There is some evidence already in photographs of the right rear tail light. When you look at that tail light, it will be different than the photograph that is in evidence. It has been removed, so it will appear differently, and you'll later hear testimony explaining that process. Also, I'd ask you to make a note on the Lexus about the height of the bumper. I'd ask you to make note of the height of the right rear railing. And I'd also ask you to take note of, on the top of the hatchback, there is a project tree. I'd ask you to look at that as well. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Ms. Giannetti?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning.
As I told you at the start of the trial, my name is David Giannetti. I have an office in Boston and in Dedham. And on behalf of my co-counsel, we will be accompanying you on the view that you will take today. Although the view is not evidence, I suggest to you that you will find it to be helpful, important, even necessary as you later do your investigation of this case within the four walls of this courtroom. You've already received in evidence, some photos and videos, but there is no substitute for your own two eyes. As we all know, photos and videos sometimes can be misleading in terms of relative distances, depending upon the perspective from which the photo is taken.
Let's go,
Your
Yannetti.
eyes are the best computer that you could bring to the view.
Don't believe
When
your
we get
lying
to
eyes.
34 Fairview, we will be pointing out certain things that we'd like you to observe. The house, the second floor window to that house, the three front doors in the front of the house, the driveway, the street, the front lawn, and the flagpole. And we'll be asking you specifically to consider the distance between that second floor front window and the front lawn. The distance between the front doors to the house and that front lawn. The distance between the driveway to the front lawn.
Let's go,
We'll
Yannetti.
be asking you to take a good look at that Lexus. To stand next to it, to size it up, to take it in. You were all selected as jurors because the parties entrusted that you would do a proper investigation of this case within this courtroom. On behalf of Ms. Reed, we have every confidence that you will do a proper investigation. Thank you.
All right, jurors, I have to make something very clear. So the purpose of this view is to help you better to understand the evidence that you'll hear during the trial and to help you appreciate the location and its surroundings. The view you'll take is part of this case. The observations that you make while on the view may be used and considered by you in your deliberations in reaching a verdict. So at the end of the trial, when I explain to you what is evidence and what is not, I'll remind you that your observations on this view can be used by you in your deliberations. Also, while you're in the view, the same way you're not to take any notes or photographs, you're not to conduct any investigation on this case. You really are simply to stop and look, okay? Those are the instructions. We will see you in a few minutes. All right, thank you. Oh, sorry, Madam Clerk has to swear in the court officers.
You could all raise your right hand, please. Do each of you solemnly swear that you will take the jury upon the premises in question and there suffer them to view the same or any property, place, or thing bearing upon the issue in the trial as the parties may think necessary? That you will not permit the parties to enter into a debate in the hearing of the jury, nor any person to speak to them unless it be the attorneys of record, then only to point out such places or things as they may deem expedient for the determination of the issues. That you will keep the jury together until they shall return to court, unless the court shall otherwise order, so help you God. Thank you.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, please. Jurors, follow me.
Jurors, follow me, follow me, follow me. Jurors, follow
Goodbye.
me, follow me. Goodbye. Well,
Yourself to the jury, spelling your last name for the court.
My name is Dr. Gary Fowler.
Oh. Hold on. They came back. Just in time. Yes.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Oh no, not this guy again. I hope he's not nervous this time.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Good morning, Laura.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your last name for the court?
Oh wow,
My name is Dr. Gary Fowler. F as in Frank, A-L-L-E-R.
And what is your occupation?
I am a physician pathologist.
We're gonna
And
hear
where do
the
you
what
work?
if any's.
I work currently at Signature Healthcare in Brockton.
And how long have you worked at Signature and in what capacity, sir?
Signature, I started, it's probably 6 months. I took a new job 6 months ago. I am the chief of pathology and the laboratory medical director at Signature.
And where did you work prior to your work at Signature about 6 months ago?
Prior to that, I was at Good Samaritan Medical Center
I'll be right back.
in the same capacity.
And how long did you work at Good Samaritan for?
Since 2015, late 2015.
And did you work in any capacity similar to that prior to working at Good Samaritan?
Prior to Good Samaritan, I worked at the Kearney Hospital, which is in Dorchester. Started that job in 1996. So I stayed on staff at Kearney Hospital up until actually closed 6 months ago. So I've been on staff at Kearney's for quite a long time.
Where did you go to school and what degrees did you receive?
I went to college at Tufts University in Medford, graduated in 87. From there, I went to Tufts Medical School and graduated in 1991.
And following your graduation, where did you go from there?
After medical school, I did a residency at Tufts Medical Center in 1991 to 1996.
And then where did you go following your residency?
And right from residency, my first job was at Kearney Hospital, which I previously mentioned, so 1996.
And doctor, are you board certified?
I am board certified in anatomic pathology and clinical pathology.
And what is a board certification?
Board certification is something we need to show that we are actually qualified to perform the job that we need to do, both in anatomic and clinical pathology. It's a written exam that we take and we need to pass to demonstrate that we're competent and know what we're doing.
First, in just general terms, if you could explain to the jury, what is pathology?
Pathology is, well, there are two basic branches of pathology: anatomic pathology and clinical pathology. Anatomic pathology is basically, an anatomic pathologist is a physician or MD or a DO trained to make diagnoses on patients via looking at tissue biopsies, organs, tissue fluids, and we're also trained in autopsy pathology as well. So basically, an anatomic pathologist, we look at tissues via glass slides. Slides are made, and we every day make the diagnosis of, somebody has a cancer or somebody doesn't have a cancer, benign. Look at colon polyps, breast biopsies, pretty much anything that comes out of the operating room or physician's office, any sort of biopsy. Clinical pathology, on the other hand, is basically a clinical pathologist is a physician, an MD or a DO, who specializes in the clinical lab, which basically is any fluid specimen, including blood specimens. When you go to the hospital and you have your blood test and it gets sent to the lab, the clinical pathologist is ultimately responsible for the quality of your lab tests and quality, and basically that's it.
And so the time that you worked at Good Samaritan, did that cover the date of January 29th, 2022?
Yes.
And again, what was your title and what was your job at Good Samaritan in the month of January 2022?
I was the chief of pathology at the time and laboratory medical director.
What did you do as the laboratory medical director?
Laboratory medical director, basically, the laboratory medical director is responsible for the ultimate quality of any, either whether it's a biopsy, somebody's biopsy, or lab result. The laboratory medical director has to make sure that the final result is of excellent quality. So there are many different things that we need to make sure that things that are in place, as far as need to make sure we have the correct amount of workers. You want to have enough workers. You want to make sure they're competent. So as many, there are policies for competency for all the lab techs and phlebotomists and even pathologists. So basically the laboratory medical director, if something goes wrong, it's ultimately his or her fault.
And the lab at Good Samaritan, is that lab accredited?
Yes, it is.
And by what body?
We are accredited, or Good Samaritan is accredited by the, we call it the
Valerie, are you
CAP,
going to
it's the
say what, if
College of
anything?
American Pathologists. They are considered the preeminent accrediting body for hospitals. They've been around for probably 70 plus years or so.
What is accreditation? What does that mean?
Accreditation is basically something that says that your laboratory is following guidelines and providing excellent quality. To be accredited with the CAP, every 2 years we have a laboratory inspection. They don't tell you when they're coming. They will give you a 3-month window and they'll come and inspect you to make sure we are of a good quality lab. Each section of the lab, pathology, the clinical lab, microbiology, chemistry, hematology. The CAP has a checklist with numerous
Hey, Lenise.
requirements that one
How are
needs to
you?
fulfill.
Thank you.
There are probably over 3,000 items that that they look at.
And was your laboratory at Good Samaritan, was the accreditation up to date on January 29th, 2022?
We were accredited, still are.
Nobody says that they
Now,
weren't, Holly.
in Good Samaritan Medical Center, when a blood test is ordered, what types of things is the lab testing for?
I think the most common tests that are performed when you go and you have your blood test is one is chemistry, a chemistry test where we sodium, potassium, chloride, glucose. We also a common test is a CBC, or a complete blood count, where we look at your red blood cells.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm trying, girl. I'm trying.
Platelets. Those are the two most common tests.
And why is blood testing ordered in the course of medical treatment at a hospital?
When you're admitted to the hospital, usually you're sick, so the physician is usually a standard, ordering chemistry and CBC to see if there are any clues in those tests that could help the doctor take care of you. If they look at a BUN and creatinine, maybe if they're elevated, you either could it be dehydrated, or have renal failure. If you look at liver function tests, maybe there's something wrong with your liver. So it's just a general, a good look at the patients to see if there are any clues that could help them.
And as far as the blood testing results are concerned, how does that assist either a doctor or a clinician in treatment and diagnosis?
Basically, what I just said. If there's nothing, if the results are normal, that sometimes helps too. Rules things out if they're normal. If they do a CBC and look at the hemoglobin and it's low and patient's anemic, maybe the patient might need a transfusion. So there are many different case scenarios where the results can help the provider, the clinician.
Now, with reference to alcohol, does the Good Samaritan Medical Center, do they also test alcohol within the blood?
Yes, we do.
And why would that assist medical treatment and diagnosis?
I think if a physician is wanting to know if somebody's been drinking or has alcohol on board, or maybe not, maybe that patient has ingested maybe drugs of abuse. So they'll test for alcohol to see, one, if it's positive, and if it is, then it helps confirm that the patient has been drinking.
Now, are there any policies and protocols at Good Samaritan Medical Center with reference to how blood is taken and how blood is tested?
Yes, we have numerous policies. We have one policy specifically for phlebotomists. Those are laboratory technicians who draw the blood. So we have a policy for them to explain exactly what they need to do. And also in the laboratory, we have numerous policies basically for any tests that we provide. And so we have a policy for alcohol testing as well.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes. Say what if anything, Lolly. I'm waiting for what if anything.
Doctor, I'm placing before you two sets of documents. Just ask you to review those generally and look up when you're finished. And do you recognize what those are, sir?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what is contained within each of those two sets of documents?
Okay.
We know
the
she said
first
she
one
was
is
drinking.
a patient preparation for specimen collection. This is the policy that I was mentioning, specifically designed for our phlebotomist to detail the procedure of the blood draw. Basically goes through one of the most important parts of the process is correct patient identification, where we need to correctly identify the patient. We have the patient state his or her first and last name and state it out loud to make sure it matches the patient that we're trying to draw. And then we also match up the bracelet to the medical record number on the patient's bracelet. So one of the most important things is correct patient identification. The rest of this policy goes on and just pretty much details what to do next, including finding the veins, cleaning the site. It has some information on if there are any complications. So it's basically the entire process of the blood draw. The second one is our alcohol policy, which pretty much details in detail what goes on behind the scenes for an alcohol blood test in our hospital.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, Caldwell, so you can introduce in a minute the next two exhibits.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, for the record, it would be the patient preparation for specimen collection, the next exhibit in line.
All right.
I gotta write this down.
And the ETOH policy would be the next exhibit number. Now, doctor, what types of precautions are in place at Good Samaritan with respect specifically to alcohol testing in the blood? Or I should say taking the blood sample from the patient.
What, if anything?
Yes,
What, if anything,
one of the
did you do?
major things we need to do with taking somebody's blood for alcohol is to obviously not use an alcohol swab. Normally, when you have your blood test, they cleanse the area with a swab that contains alcohol. So in our policy is a specific statement that says, do not use alcohol swab, because potentially when you're drawing the
It can
blood,
make it
if
high.
you suck up some of that residual alcohol, you could cause a false positive. So we have in our policy, and it's
Did you
every
guys
hospital
use
should
an
have the same
alcohol swab
policy
in this?
where we use a swab, a swab that has no alcohol. We call them a moist towelette. That's what we refer them to. Also in the emergency room, my supervisor pretty much removed probably 95% of all the alcohol swabs. So just in case a phlebotomist forgets to not use an alcohol swab, they are hard to find. We need to keep a few there because we need to use alcohol wipes on certain tests like blood cultures and stuff like that. So
When were the alcohol swabs removed from the emergency?
Yeah, when were they removed?
it was before my time.
Are
Fair
you
to say
sure
prior
about
to
that?
January 29th, 2022.
Correct.
What is a phlebotomist and what do they do?
So a phlebotomist is a healthcare
They're the
professional
vampires. They are
who
the ones that suck
specializes
the blood.
in drawing blood. So they're the ones who are trained, competent, and know what to do when
Competent?
they
How do you know
draw
that they're
the patient's
competent?
blood.
What kind of training do phlebotomists receive at Good Samaritan?
We try to hire phlebotomists who have been trained. It's just easier. So they can have a high school background, but if we train on site, they just need to be trained on the proper protocol, proper procedures, and demonstrate competency.
Is there any sort of proficiency testing related to phlebotomists at Good Samaritan?
There's no proficiency testing for phlebotomists, but there's competency assessments. So with phlebotomists or any laboratory technician or even pathologists, there are strict guidelines for competency. We have to always make sure people know what they're doing. And it's a CLIA or a federal government regulation or requirement. So when anybody first starts in a hospital, the requirements are, one, initial training. You can't let anybody come in on their own, without not knowing what they're doing. So we have to document that they have the initial training and they're competent. And then the law says 6 months from that, we do another competency assessment where we look at 6 elements of competency defined by CLIA. And 6 months from that, 1 year from the start date, is another competency. And then after that, it's annual thereafter. And that goes for phlebotomists, and it goes for any laboratory technician.
Doctor, once the blood is drawn by the phlebotomist, what happens then?
So the phlebotomist will draw it at the time. They need to have the specimens labeled in the patient's room, because you don't want the phlebotomist to mislabel. So everything gets labeled at the patient's bedside with an initialed and with the phlebotomist's initial and date and time. That blood test will then be sent to the lab. In this case, the blood was drawn in the emergency room. So it gets packaged into a plastic bag and sent in a pneumatic tube up to the laboratory.
And once it's sent to the laboratory, what happens with the sample from there?
Once we receive it, it's called receiving the specimen. There will be a technician who then goes into the computer, enters the phlebotomist's
I
name
don't
from,
think they were
from the tube
testing for
into the
alcohol
computer
when they.
system, enters the time, and the technologist will look and see what was
I
ordered,
can't remember if
and
they were
then
testing for
do
alcohol or if
the
they were
appropriate
just
next
testing for
step from,
drugs.
based on what was ordered.
I'm not sure.
And in a case in which alcohol is one of the items that are ordered, what is the next step as far as the testing goes?
So the next step with alcohol testing, we use a specific tube, so the phlebotomist would know what tube to use. It would be a light green tube that has lithium heparin in it. It's an anticoagulant. We don't want the blood to clot, so that's why we use an anticoagulant. So the first step when testing for alcohol is that the test.
I'll have to wait till defense gets up there, but I'm not sure if they drew her blood for alcohol. I'm not sure of that. I know that they were drawing her blood for like drugs and stuff, but I don't know if they drew anything for alcohol. I'm not even certain. And I think that's why they're having an issue with this alcohol test. Plus, alcohol metabolizes different when you have MS. So, whatever. Okay.
Is designed to be performed on serum or plasma, and to get
I think when they got there, they asked them to test for alcohol later because that's when they were going to pin it on her. I don't know. I'm not sure.
The next step would be to centrifuge the blood. A centrifuge is a machine that spins the blood rapidly.
I don't. Do you? Kat, did you watch the first
RPMs,
trial?
which is pretty fast.
I don't think they were testing for blood. I just don't. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But I think that's the issue that they had in the first trial.
Rotations per minute. And the reason why we spin it, because
she has
centrifugation
MS.
will allow it to separate the blood components based on the density. So heavier stuff like the red blood cells will go to the bottom, and the lighter stuff like the watery component of the blood will go to the top, and some of the white cells go into the middle. But for alcohol testing, we are targeting the top part of the blood component, which would be plasma.
And then once it goes through the centrifuge process, what happens then?
So once it's centrifuged, we have the separation of the blood components. We have the plasma ready to be tested, so that technologist will.
And he's boring the hell out of me. But yeah, I watched the first trial. I watched it a million times because I would go and watch all the creators that I really like because I didn't have a laptop at that time to stream it. Oh my goodness. And I don't know how many times I watched it. And I know this case inside and out. But this, I don't remember. I think I just tuned him out because he was so boring.
Walk the specimen over. It's probably 10 feet from there and put it onto our Roche Cobas machine. That's our machine that performs our chemistries as well as alcohol testing. It goes onto a machine. All the testing is
he hated it the first time.
Basically inside of a black box.
He's almost damn near swallowing that mic because
the
he doesn't want
label
PTSD
present on
the he doesn't want to get yelled at by the
what
judge.
the Roche machine will test. So based on the barcode label, once it's on our machine, it knows what test to do, and it will perform an alcohol test.
He's just like, well, we just grabbed the tube and we just, there's no personality. Like, oh yeah, we grabbed the tube and it got to be a green tube, not animated at all. I mean, I get it. He's a doctor. I understand. He's a pathologist. Okay, one of the boringest jobs that you could have. I mean, well, not boring because they do science stuff and they like that stuff, but I mean, unless you're like examining tissues or doing other stuff, like it's got to be a boring job because poor dude, I mean, he just don't have no personality, none.
And Dr. For our stenographer, do you know how to spell that Roach Cobas machine that you were just referencing?
Oh, you mean he's got a spell now, Lally? Jeez Louise. Wow.
ROCHE,
Oh, he knows
Roche,
how to spell.
and
Let's go.
Cobas, COBAS.
Thank you, sir. May I approach, Ron?
Yes.
Oh, shit. And if it does, do you have a test to make your breath not stink, sir? The next person that gets up there for that mic. Oh, freaking Lord. Man, they better, did you bring any alcohol swabs with you, sir?
Do you recognize those records, sir?
Yes.
And what do you recognize?
See, the other people that did the blood, like, did the extrapolation, that's hard to say. But the other guy, the other dude that did the extrapolation, I mean, even he had personality. I mean, shoot. But this dude don't have no personality. He's like Dr. Rice. Man, Dr. Rice, when he hits the stand, such a condescending dickhead.
Recognize those to be?
These are the medical records of Karen Read.
And sir, is there an indication within those records as far as the date of treatment for Miss Reed?
Yes, there's a bunch of dates in here.
There's a bunch of dates in
As far
here.
as the treatment is concerned, sir?
Yes.
And what is the date of treatment?
Oh,
Yeah, why is there, hold on. Is that giving away something? Why is there a bunch of dates in there? He asked you the date of treatment and you're like, oh, there's a bunch of dates in here. So what are you trying to tell us? Like, they could have used a different blood test or what? That's kind of
1/9/22.
Sorry, is that 29/22?
poor dude, can't even read.
Admit date, it says 1/29/22.
Thank you, sir. That's fine. Doctor, if I could direct your attention further into the document to a previously tabbed portion, do you see any indication in there as far as a result for alcohol testing?
Let's see. What was? Can you read? Can you read your own work, sir? Hello?
Yes, I do.
Okay, wow.
And with respect to that result, have you reviewed these records prior to today?
Yes, I did.
And if you could explain to the jury sort of the timeline from this blood
It
sample as
shouldn't
far
be
as
funny, but
let's start with first when it was ordered.
So when it was ordered, it was 9:03 in the morning.
And when was it
Okay.
taken, sir?
The blood test was taken 5 minutes later, so 9:08.
And then what happened, or what is the next time that something of any significance happened with it?
5 minutes from that, 9:13, we received it, and 9:53 in the morning, the result was entered into the computer.
okay, well, what's the result?
So it was
Duh.
ordered at 9:03, and I believe it was 9:53. The results were in the computer.
And may I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
What's the results there, sir?
I'm welcome to seek to introduce and admit as the next exhibit.
Any objection, Ms. Little? Right, thank you.
Is she going to cross him again? She was good last time. So. Come on. And mind you, jury,
Doctor,
that
what
she
was the
drunk
result of
when she did
the
this?
testing for alcohol
So
in the
how she
defendant's
didn't
blood
end up in the middle of the drive,
when
I
it
mean, the
was,
middle of the lawn
taken
of their house?
shortly after
I
9 a.m.
never
on
know.
January 29th?
93 milligrams per deciliter.
Thanks. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Per deciliter. Milligrams. What?
Good afternoon, Dr. Fowler.
Oh, good afternoon.
The Good Samaritan lab is a clinical lab, not a forensic lab. Is that right?
Correct.
And hospitals are not in the legal business of calculating an individual's blood alcohol concentration. Is that right?
I would say 99.9% of the time we are not in the legal business. We are testing alcohol for the diagnosis of alcohol intoxication. But occasionally a case may come, very rare, to a hospital and it ends up being a legal case. It's not common. I think uncommon.
And you'd agree that there are differences between screening tests that are conducted at hospitals and forensic tests that are conducted by law enforcement, right?
Yes.
The purpose of testing in a clinical setting is to assist in the diagnosis and treatment of a patient.
Yep.
Right?
Correct.
And physicians need to analyze blood quickly. They need to get the results so they can see what's in a patient's system and then effectively and efficiently treat that patient, right?
Correct.
Whereas in a forensic setting, tests for blood alcohol concentration are designed to produce results that are reliable and credible for use in court. Correct?
Correct.
You testified earlier today that your lab is accredited by CAP, which is the College of American Pathologists. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes, I do.
But CAP is a clinical laboratory accreditation, not a forensic accreditation.
Ooh.
We don't have the forensic accreditation for Good Samaritan.
All you have to
In
do is
fact,
say
Good
no,
Samaritan
dude.
has never been investigated or accredited by any forensic accreditation team to ensure that you perform all of your tests with the integrity necessary to support results in court, right?
We've never had the forensic accreditation, but we have very good quality lab results, which I could go into further.
She's not saying
But
that.
you've
dude.
never been accredited by a forensic accreditation team,
No.
right?
No.
And the lab at Good Samaritan has never been accredited by the ANSI, which is the National Accreditation Board known as ANAB. Are you familiar with that organization?
No.
Are you aware that ANAB is the forensic accreditation body that in the United States that ensures that laboratories' procedures meet the minimum standards necessary to ensure results are reliable and credible for use in court?
Sustained.
How is that sustained?
Now, the most
Oh,
reliable
speculation?
method of forensic
We don't know.
ethanol testing is called headspace gas chromatography, or HSGC. Are you familiar with that process?
Yes.
And HSGC is the method that's used by forensic labs to test for blood alcohol content, right?
Correct.
And that's because forensic tests require the testing of whole blood for the presence of alcohol,
Yep.
right?
Correct.
Can you briefly, just for the jury, describe sort of the difference between a whole blood test?
Oh,
and a
he
serum
can't do
test?
it briefly now. He's
Sure.
going to go into a
So whole
long
blood, to put it simply,
monotone.
when you have your blood drawn, you see the fluid coming out all red.
Oh my God.
That's whole blood. We don't do anything to it. We don't spin it down. We don't centrifuge it. That is whole blood. That is the specimen of choice for forensic blood ethanol testing. Hospitals, on the other hand, our methodology, which is just as good as the forensic headspace gas chromatography, is based on looking at the serum or the plasma. So we don't, that's what I went when I explained
Because
that we
you
need
spin
to centrifuge it,
You
take
spin it.
the liquid portion off the top. So in the hospital, we test it on the serum or the plasma. Now, did you ask me the difference? You want me to go into the difference?
That's enough, doctor. Thank
Okay,
you. I'll
all right.
ask some additional questions
Okay.
to kind of clarify. And in a forensic lab, they actually require the testing of whole blood, correct?
Correct.
And HSGC directly measures ethanol in the blood.
Correct.
And this method is designed to be accurate and reliable for forensic purposes for use in legal proceedings, correct?
Correct.
But the testing in this case was performed using the hospital's clinical chemistry machine instead of a forensically defensible method like HSGC, right?
Correct.
And that clinical chemistry machine performs what you just testified to, a serum test, right?
Serum or plasma.
Serum or plasma. And hospitals use serum or plasma testing because it's actually quicker and more efficient than HSGC, right?
Yes, it's less labor intensive. It's easy to automate, but at the same time, very, very good and very accurate.
Okay, I'm still here.
But serum testing does not actually measure alcohol directly. It instead measures the presence of what's called NADH, right? Yes, I'll repeat that. That was my fault. Serum testing does not actually measure alcohol directly. Instead, it measures the presence of NADH. Is that right?
Almost.
Well, NADH is a byproduct of alcohol, right?
Correct. I can go into the testing how methodology that we use to explain it if you want me to.
Well, serum testing measures the presence of NADH, correct?
It measures the rate of change of NADH production, so it doesn't actually look at just NADH, and it measures the rate of production, and I can go into more detail on that. Alcohol testing in the lab is correct.
I'll ask you some additional
Okay,
questions
sure.
about NADH and we'll
Sure.
get there.
Yeah.
So you can do this now, but let the doctor answer his question fully next question, okay? And the following questions.
Doctor, the higher the NADH in a patient's system, the higher the serum test result, correct?
That may not be correct, no. It's the rate of change of NADH production based on our methodology. I can go into that. So our test system is a little bit different than the forensic testing system, but it's also very good and very accurate, and almost when we compare our methodology to the Headspace, we get the exact same results, and when we compare and with peer laboratory comparisons. But what we do is and I think the jury needs to know this, maybe some of you might understand the chemistry behind it, but we take the patient's sample, and it's based on, we add, because when there's alcohol in the specimen, we add, actually, in the test system, alcohol dehydrogenase. It's the same enzyme that's in the patient's body. In addition, we add a surplus of NAD to it. NAD is similar to NADH. They get converted back and forth. So when we put it on our test system, it's alcohol dehydrogenase is in there. And what happens is, when there's alcohol, it combines with NAD that we add to it. It creates NADH. And then in our machine, there's a spectrophotometer, which can monitor the rate of NADH production over baseline. And we use, there's something that measures, a photometer that measures the NADH production. It looks at light in this physics and looks at 340 nanometers. and it's pretty accurate. It will monitor, it will tell you, it will tell the system how much NADH is produced, and that amount is directly proportional to the alcohol in the patient's sample. So it's a very, very accurate test, but there are some limitations that I can go into.
So wait for another question.
Okay.
Next question, Ms. Little.
Yes, so serum testing can be subject to errors, right? And there are limitations.
There are some limitations that I can explain, just like headspace gas chromatography may have some limitations too, but I can go into them.
Next question.
What are some of the limitations of the serum testing?
Okay. So the serum test, as with many tests in the laboratory, different things can interfere with our laboratory tests. And the three most common ones, which are unlikely to affect ethanol testing, is we abbreviated HIL. We want to look at those three things. One is hemolysis, which is H, and our machine.
Sir, I know you really want to sell this for the Commonwealth, right? But let me tell you something, like, you don't need to go into like drawn out descriptions unless they ask you. They're really asking you for yes and no answers. I don't know why all the Commonwealth people have to like not answer the question and just like go into this drawn out. It loses the jury. You're going to lose the jury. You've already lost me.
The other one is I, icterus, which is high bilirubin. And the third is L for lipids. High lipids will interfere with alcohol testing or with any testing based on that same methodology. Our machine, the Rose-Kobash machine, and all the machines out in the market today are very sophisticated. If we have elevated levels of any H or I or L, it will flag it and raise the potential for a problem.
If there's chemists, they're going to love this.
The next
in the jury
thing on the list is that our alcohol testing is not absolutely specific for ethanol. There are two possible other alcohols that can cross-react. One is propanol and butanol. But then it goes clinical history. Did the patient ingest those two alcohols? And third is there's some unusual hematologic malignancies like Waldenstrom's macroglobulinemia. That can interfere. So it's
NMS.
Always have to correlate with the clinical situation. The next one, sometimes there can be patients who make endogenous make their own alcohol. So very rarely, some patients may truly have a positive result. That could be from our test or Headspace. They make their own. So we have to rule that out. It's a rare condition. And the next one is one that's in the literature, which is LDH and lactic acid. If a patient has a markedly elevated LDH or lactic acid, those one is an enzyme, and the other one is an acid. That can cause false positives. Now,
if I could stop you there, doctor. I think those were the four that you identified, the four limitations: the lactic acid, the hematology.
Yeah.
If I could just
go ahead and ask your next question.
If I could ask you a few more questions about LDH and lactic acid.
Sure.
You're aware, Dr. Fowler, of the medical literature establishing that the presence of LDH and lactic acid can lead to falsely elevated serum readings, correct?
Correct.
And that's because lactic acid or LDH actually forms NADH. Right?
Lactic acid.
Oh God, here we go.
I'll have to go into a little bit of chemistry. Lactic acid and LDH, lactate dehydrogenase, they both act on each other. And LDH and lactic acid needs NAD plus to break it down. So in theory, when you're testing a serum, a plasma for blood alcohol, if there's extra LDH or high levels of LDH, high levels of lactic acid, you add it to the test system, and then Roche throws in, or Siemens throws in the NAD, it will form NADH. That was first documented, I think, back in the older versions of
Oh my
these
gosh, don't ask it for all
ethanol
this.
testings back in the 1990s, when they stumbled on, they were looking for biomarkers or reasons in kids with SIDS, little babies, and they found that two
That's what
of
my
these
sister
babies had
died.
a positive alcohol. But
Doctor, if I could just ask the next question, if that's okay.
Sorry.
So in other words, NADH, studies have found, can actually be formed by certain biomechanical processes other than the presence of alcohol, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Are you
Oh my
aware
God,
that
you
the
just
National
answered the
Institute
question,
of Health has found that
right?
liver diseases, kidney diseases, muscle injury, trauma, and even anemia are some of the health conditions that can lead to a rise in serum LDH levels?
Yes.
Are you aware that Ms. Reed was severely anemic in January of 2022?
Sustained.
Are you aware that the medical literature has also found that patients suffering from multiple sclerosis have a twofold increase in NADH levels as compared to controls?
I'm going to allow that.
I haven't read anything specifically related to the NADH level, but but I want to go back to the point where our laboratory, our testing is not based.
Let him finish his answer.
It's not. It's the rate of change of NADH. So if somebody has NADH on board, I believe it's not going to affect the result. It's the rate of change, and it basically.
You're gonna have to ask a forensic pathologist.
You know.
This dude's
Back to the anemia, I haven't read or heard of that.
That was stricken. That was not allowed.
It all goes back to the lactic acid and the LDH. The NADH doesn't matter. So looking at multiple sclerosis patients, they can have elevated LDH and lactic acid, but it's not to the extent that it can interfere with the alcohol levels. There was a study maybe 7-10 years ago.
Your Honor, there's no question pending.
You asked him about a study, if he was aware of the studies.
I asked, and that's a yes or no question. And he's.
All right, Doctor, we're going to hold that there for you and ask the next question.
Doctor, have you reviewed the August 21st, 2013 peer-reviewed article entitled Serum NAD through Disease Course in Multiple Sclerosis, which was sponsored by the Center of Healthy Brain Aging by the University of New South Wales? Which,
do that again and slow down, please.
Sure. Doctor, have you reviewed the August 21st, 2013 peer-reviewed article entitled Serum NAD Levels through Disease Course in Multiple Sclerosis, which was sponsored by the Center for Healthy Brain Aging by the School of Psychiatry at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia, which specifically found that patients suffering from multiple sclerosis have a twofold increase in NADH levels as compared to controls?
I'll strike the part of what the article held. Is he aware of the article?
No, I'm not, to be honest, no.
Of course you're not.
Dr. Fowler, did you consider Ms. Reed's anemia and multiple sclerosis condition when you conducted the alcohol test on January 29th, 2022?
No, we don't. No.
Yeah.
And again, serum tests like the ones conducted in this case don't test for ethanol. They only test for NADH, right?
We test for the rate of change of NADH production.
And Doctor, you did a number of other tests on Ms. Reed on January 29th, 2022. You tested for additional drugs, not just alcohol, correct?
Correct.
And all of those results were negative.
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay.
Valley, what are you gonna do? You're gonna, what if anything?
Doctor, are you aware, I know your lab at Good Samaritan did not do this process, but are you aware through your training and experience of any sort of mathematical conversion that can be done from a serum reading in milligram per deciliter to a blood alcohol concentration in whole blood?
I'm going to allow it. The door was open.
I'm going to allow it. The door was open.
Yes, I am aware. Yep.
And please describe what you're aware of with reference to that.
It's always the ones that are quiet that like
Well,
to
with
talk.
blood alcohol
can.
concentrates goes to, when it's in your blood, it goes more to the watery components of your blood. So when
because it
I
dehydrates you.
described the process earlier, whole blood is before we spin it. And when we test the plasma, which is specifically testing the watery component. Now, people have done stuff.
I wonder how many people in the jury has he lost already because he wants to keep going and going and going and going. This dude. I mean, poor guy. I mean, he's stuck in a laboratory. Like, yeah, I get you on your time to talk.
Studies like how much percentage of water is a serum versus whole blood. Basically, to put it simple, there's a higher percentage of water in the serum versus whole blood. So a hospital result will always be a little bit higher than a test on whole blood. It can be.
Oh, so it
I
will
think
be
the ratio,
higher
the
in a
conversion
hospital.
factor is anywhere from
Higher in a
1.1 to
hospital.
1.18. It's always could be 18% or 11% higher in serum versus
Wow,
whole blood.
11% higher
But we don't do it. That's what I read. I
in serum
will defer that to the experts.
than whole blood.
Now, doctor, you were referencing in your cross-examination about a study that you were aware of about 10 years ago or so regarding MS and alcohol testing. Is that correct?
That was 10
It
years
was
ago. They redid
more
the
on
study.
MS, looking at the
It goes
results of
on
lactic
and
acid
on and on
and
and
LDH
on.
to see how high the levels of lactic acid can go in a group of multiple sclerosis patients.
I want to know how come the DNA people don't talk as much as you do? I mean, DNA would like make anybody like go duh because they're talking. But in this case, the DNA people don't go on and on and on and on. You're stuck in a laboratory and you're just like excited that somebody actually wants to talk about what you do for a living, huh? That's what it is. That's what it is. I guarantee it.
When reviewing that, we found that the range went from some normal range. 16% of the multiple sclerosis patients had normal lactic acids, but the remainder had elevated levels. But those levels were not
There was a small amount that didn't have elevated lactic acid, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then the rest did, sir. Hello, sir. So how effective was that freaking, whatever, that paper or whatever the hell you're discussing with Lolly, because you done lost me and I can't think straight right now. But obviously, when you do testing like that, and there's only a small percent that don't have it, meaning there's a small percentage. The rest of those people are different. It means that, no, I can't go with, there's no lactic acid elevated in MS patients. No, you would have to go with, there is many MS people that have lactic acid elevated. I think I said that right.
Required levels to produce a false positive. Our package inserts and for the Roche
I don't
testing
think Karen
system,
Read was
Roche
that drunk.
has
I just don't.
It's an FDA approved test, and they have to do in-depth, detailed testing before they.
And if she was that drunk, she would have I'm telling you, she would have ended up in the middle of that lawn or even in the house. At 22 miles an hour, you know that freaking they don't, when you're on alcohol, it slows your reaction time, right? And you know, like in the snow, it makes you slide. It just don't make no damn sense, people.
They allow any hospital to do a test, and they have listed, you know, levels of lactic acid beyond which the test would not be reliable. But the results, based on this study of 600 multiple sclerosis patients, 2 big centers in Italy and 1 in the Netherlands, show that the highest level of lactic acid in the MS patients did not achieve, didn't get close. Usually patients with MS that are asymptomatic.
God, why do you keep going on?
Normal levels, slightly elevated. It was the ones that had more symptoms that had
And they
elevated
redid the
levels up
study,
to,
sir.
I think the highest was 6.5.
You got one that's
millimoles
10
per
years
deciliter,
ago.
which
She's
is
talking about
not
one
high
that was
enough to
in
interfere
21.
with our result.
Now, with respect to the lab at Good Samaritan Medical Center, the interference that you were speaking about earlier on cross-examination, what would happen if any of those types of interference were to occur during the course of the testing?
No, I'll allow it.
Of course you will.
The 3
Bev.
main ones, which I detailed earlier, is the hemolysis, icterus, and lipemia. Machines are sophisticated.
stop.
It will detect it and say,
Make it
it
freaking
will
stop,
flag it and say,
please,
please
Lord,
do not
help
result
me.
it, or we'll have a disclaimer saying, interpret this result with caution.
Stop.
The results may not be accurate. It hardly ever happens with alcohol testing. But if it did, we would get a result like that, and we probably wouldn't report it.
And from your review of the defendant's medical records, specifically her testing from January 29th, did you notice any interference or any reports like that in her record?
No.
Now, the testing that you're doing at Good Samaritan is in relation to patients such as that might have cancer or heart disease or something like that, correct?
Correct.
Now, you were talking or started to speak on cross-examination about the good quality lab results that you have from your lab, and you wanted to go into that further. Could you please expound upon that for the jury now?
It's driving me crazy. My ADD is going crazy right now.
We have you mentioned proficiency testing before. So all hospital laboratories accredited by the CAP or have to participate in.
But you're only accredited by clinical, not forensic, dude. Lord have mercy. Somebody just go now for me. Just
proficiency testing. What that means is that every 3 times a year, and they give us 5 unknown samples. And we have to test it, report it back to CAP, which also reports back to the government. And we have to basically get the correct answers. And with alcohol testing, it's probably one of the best tests in the laboratory. Always have right on the money results. But at the same time, we're also able to look at
the same bat time and the same bat station.
All the other labs that participated in this proficiency testing. So we can look at different methods. We can look at labs that had the same method as us to see how we're doing. And usually with this proficiency testing, we have 3,000 labs across the nation that have the same methodology as us, so we can compare to them. And also, interestingly, we can see the labs that are using headspace gas chromatography. And out of interest, we can see, how do we compare? And we have pretty exactly the same results.
She has MS.
On these proficiency testings.
Thank you. Have
we
a great
also look
day.
at some statistics as well, not going into them, but we can look at some stats like standard deviations and SDs. And actually, the hospitals with enzymatic testing have slightly better stats.
You only asked about your hospital.
Headspace.
Yours.
Pretty close, but a little bit better.
And doctor, from your review of the defendant's medical records and the blood testing in this case, was that done in conformity with the policies and protocols at Good Samaritan?
We have policies in place to be followed, and there's no reason not to think that somebody didn't follow
Say
policy.
yes. All you have to do was say yes.
Anything else, Ms. Little?
No questions.
Thank
Doctor,
you,
you
Miss
are all
Little.
set, sir.
Jeez.
Thank you.
Goodbye, dude. Dumb, dumb, dumb. Okay, who we're calling now?
Do you have another witness, Mr. Brennan?
I do.
Okay.
The Commonwealth calls Jason Becker.
Who the hell's Jason Becker? I can't remember who Jason Becker is. I think he's the other dude. And I think he's the forensic pathologist. Jason Becker. Nope, I don't know who that is. I don't think I've seen. I'll have to look at him to see if I remember him.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Good afternoon, sir. All right, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Jason Becker.
How old are you?
I am 36 years old.
Do you live in the area?
You look young.
I do. I live in Canton.
Tell us a
I'm
little bit
sorry.
about your education.
My education, high school and college UMass. And I went to EMT school a little over 10 years ago.
Oh, he's at EMT.
And paramedic school.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about EMT school. How old were you when you started EMT school?
When I started EMT school, roughly 21 years old.
Why did you decide to go to EMT school?
I wanted to save some
Who
lives.
cares?
Tell us
Brendan?
a little bit about EMT school. What did it require?
EMT school is a couple months of classroom stuff, and then you do some ride time on the ambulance. Paramedic school is a little different. It's about a little extended. 2 years worth of training. You're doing hospital, ER time, and ambulance time also.
How long did you serve as an EMT before you went to paramedic school?
I worked as an EMT for approximately 5 years.
Can you estimate how many dozens or hundreds of calls you were on during that time?
Hundreds.
Why did you decide then to go get paramedic training?
I wanted to be on the fire department, and it was a prerequisite.
Did you complete paramedic school successfully?
I did.
Were you still working as an EMT at the time?
I was.
And inevitably, did you seek to have a different job? Did you try to be a firefighter?
I wanted to be a firefighter, correct.
Were you successful in doing that?
I was.
Tell us a little bit about that, sir.
On the Canton Fire Department. So I got on the Canton Fire Department, and then they send you to the fire academy, where you train to be a firefighter.
So you had EMT training, paramedic training, and then firefighter training.
That's correct.
On the Canton Police Department, did you serve dual roles as a paramedic and as a firefighter?
Fire department?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
department, sorry.
Yes, sir. Firefighter and as a paramedic.
You served as a firefighter and a paramedic.
Correct.
In the Canton Fire Department, does it have more than one station?
There's two.
Is there one station that's larger or smaller than the other?
Station 1 is the headquarters, which is larger.
Had you ever spent time at Station 1 as a firefighter or a paramedic?
I have. We rotate to both stations.
I want you to take us back to January 29th, 2022. Were you working that evening?
I was.
What station were you assigned to?
Canton Station 2.
Canton Fire Station 2?
Correct.
And that's the smaller of the two stations.
It is.
Were you working with anybody at Fire Station 2 that night?
My ambulance partner at the time was firefighter Dan Whitley.
Was there anybody else who was working at Fire Station 2 in addition to you and Dan Whitley?
Correct. There was an engine company with 3 guys on it.
3 people were assigned to
The engine, correct.
Were you and Dan Whitley assigned as partners for the day, the week?
Correct. Yes, we were.
Which was it, the day or the week, sir?
The week.
So for the entire week, you're partners with a person, and does that rotate on other assignments?
It does. It rotates.
So on this particular week, you were assigned as partners with Dan Whitley.
I was.
What were your roles between the two of you?
well, at the time, he was my preceptor. I was a new paramedic at the time. So I was more or less the lead tech on all the calls as part of my training. And Dan's been a paramedic for a long time. So he, he was there to teach me.
So would Dan Whitley be the lead on the call and he would help you?
I would be the lead.
You would be the lead.
Correct.
Did you get a call that early morning hours of January 29, 2022?
We did.
What was the call assigned for?
It was a call for Section 12 psych eval.
Very briefly, can you tell us what a Section 12 is?
Sure. It's a transportation order filled out by police, doctor, basically for us on the ambulance that we have to take the patient, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, because they're a threat to themselves or someone else.
When you received the call for a Section 12, were you aware that there were other calls that Fire Station 1 had responded to that morning?
We were aware. You can hear the calls going out each station.
Were you or Dan Whitley any part of that earlier call that Fire Station 1 responded to before you got the call for the Section 12?
We were not.
So your efforts were after?
We were after, correct.
After you got the call to respond to a Section 12, did you head towards Fairview Road?
We did.
Tell us a little bit about the trip to Fairview Road.
It was a little extended because of the weather conditions at the time. Snowing heavily, windy, low visibility.
Okay. How long did it take to get from Fire Station 2 to Fairview Road?
Approximately 8 to 10 minutes.
Who drove?
Firefighter Whitley.
Now, on the way to Fairview Road, do you sit in the front of the ambulance?
We do.
Take us to when you arrived to Fairview Road. What do you see?
You see a bunch of police lights. Canton engine 3 was already on scene, so we parked behind them.
Did you have it, without talking about what you spoke about, did you have a chance to speak to anybody at the scene?
We briefly spoke to the Canton police, and they briefed us and sent us to where the defendant was at the time.
Why do you have a conversation with other first responders at the scene before you do anything?
They're making sure the scene is safe to begin with, and they're unseen first, so they have a little more info than what our dispatch would have.
After you had that debriefing with colleagues, were you directed to approach any?
I'm going to speculate just a little bit. You know what I think? Okay, you know how her father called in the morning to Dighton Police and asked for a ride because, this happened and stuff? I think that he called down to them as well, trying to get a ride, and they just decided to Section 12 her. I don't think he said, I don't know if it was said that she was suicidal or whatever, but that's just my speculation. But anyways, okay, let's go.
Certain person?
I was.
Where did you go?
I went to the defendant who was sitting in a black SUV type car.
Were there other persons inside the car with the defendant?
From my understanding, there was one person in the driver's seat.
And what seat was the defendant in?
She was in the front passenger seat.
Did you have a chance to speak to her?
I did.
And the person you spoke to who was in the passenger seat of that car, do you see that person in court today?
I do.
Could you point out and
she's the
describe an
defendant,
article of
as he
clothing?
said many times.
Miss Reed right there. She's in the blue, navy blue.
How long was your conversation with the defendant while she was still seated inside the vehicle?
Approximately about 5 to 8 minutes.
At some point, did you and the defendant move to another location?
We did.
Where did you go?
So we went back in the ambulance.
After having a conversation with her, was she cooperative going back to the ambulance with you?
She was.
And did you ask her to be seated in the ambulance?
I did.
Was she cooperative with that as well?
She just didn't want to go to the hospital.
After she was seated in the ambulance.
Section 12.
did you close the doors
Okay. Okay, it's not voluntary. Like you're taking her no matter what. Like if I was Section 12, my boyfriend, I just found him in the freaking snow, lifeless. Okay. I would be freaking out. It's cold. I wish it would warm up. That's how the weather is. I was talking about here, this case. Like they act like a little snow hurts them when they're in a place where it snows. But anyways, I just this case is driving me crazy. It's driving me nuts. You're saying that she's cooperative, but when you're talking about going to the hospital, no, she wants to go to the hospital to see her boyfriend, to find out if he's okay. She's getting involuntarily Section 12, which is a 5150. So she's got to go. I mean, this is crazy. Anyways, okay, let me stop rambling and just listen to this dumbass.
Get in?
We did.
When you say we, who was with you?
Me and firefighter Whitley.
So you and firefighter Whitley were in the back of the ambulance with Miss Reed. Who was going to drive the ambulance?
Firefighter Sam Park.
Where did he come from?
He was on
Where'd he
the fire
come
engine that
from?
was
He
already
came from the
on
Middle
scene.
East.
I want to ask you questions now about what you did in the back of the ambulance and some of the conversations that you had. Tell us what your role is once you have a patient in the back of the ambulance. What do you do next?
I
guys are
mean, each
giving me
patient's
a
different,
headache,
depends on
by
what the
the way,
call's for.
just
In
FYI.
this specific situation, it was more a psych eval, because that's what we're called for. Initial triage questions: is the patient cooperative, uncooperative, combative?
That's what's fucking funny is, okay, like, you guys, who else wouldn't be freaking out when they find their boyfriend lifeless in the freaking snow? And you guys you guys are motherfuckers. I swear to God. Okay, let me take these pills because I'm gonna.
I asked her name, her mental status, where she was. I asked her if she was suicidal, and if she was, did she have a plan? Did she want to hurt anyone else? Those are kind of the initial triage questions that I would ask.
Say things
Why do you ask those questions?
Just to get a kind of a judgment on the patient, reading the patient.
What's your role at that point? Are you an investigator?
I'm not.
Are you in any way law enforcement?
I'm not.
So what's your focus when you're speaking to a patient?
It's basically hearing them speak in their story. In this specific situation, we didn't know circumstances. We just knew that Miss Reed had found her husband, which she was gone dead on the side of the road. So it was a traumatic call.
So when you were there, you knew nothing about.
And the reason why she called him her husband was because she was afraid that the hospital wouldn't give her any information, by the way. Anyways.
Oh, what had happened before you got there?
We did not.
And your role had nothing to do with any of that investigation?
Nah,
We did not.
monster.
You were solely focused on caring for the patient?
Correct.
Did you have any other role other than caring for the patient?
Just making sure she got to the hospital safely. She didn't hurt herself.
During those conversations, are you and firefighter Whitley doing the same thing or different things?
Again, it depends on the call. I was the lead tech, so I'm the one documented, giving a report to the nurses, the staff. So I was more kind of getting that information, my initial triage questions, and then just kind of sat and supported Miss Reed. And
were you writing down information, technical information about status and health on a report?
I was, yes.
While you were doing that, was your colleague speaking to Miss Reed?
He was.
Did you have a chance at times to hear what they were speaking about?
Yeah, and no.
At other times, did you speak directly to Miss Reed?
I have.
Can you describe her demeanor or temperament?
Initially, she was agitated because she didn't feel like she needed to go to the hospital. She said the statement she made, she didn't mean. She just kind of said it in jest because of the events that she went through.
Which is understandable.
But then there'd be periods of which she'd be calm, and then it would fluctuate. She would have like pressured speech, repetitive, but all in all, she was cooperative.
At some point, did you have a chance to speak to her directly about her mood?
About her mood?
About her mood.
I don't
What do you
know if I
mean?
understand the
That's kind of
question.
a weird
Did she
question.
say anything to you about her last interaction with what she referred to as her husband?
Sustained.
Did she make any statements to
That's
you
hearsay.
when you were giving her treatment or speaking to her about her husband?
I'll allow that, Akina.
Right.
So one of the reasons why she
Right.
saying-
She's the only one freaking out, mind you. The only one that really cared enough to try to get some breath into his life, tried to warm him up, tried to do everything possible that she could think of. Everybody else is telling her to shut the F up. You're crazy. All this dumb shit, treating her like I don't know, a redheaded stepchild, like she was a nobody, nothing. Like, oh, you're so dramatic and da 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 da. I'd be dramatic too if somebody was known to come home and didn't come home. And he's not answering phone calls. He's not doing this, that, and the other. Like, yeah, at first I'd be pissed off that, hey, he left me high and dry and didn't freaking answer the phone. And we're supposed to hang out and all this other dumb shit, right? And then when you find him, her being frantic, trying to keep it together, going in and out of moods is understandable. She is in grief. But none of the other mother chuggers were there, were freaking out. They weren't, it's like they didn't even give a fudge it was John on the lawn when they say, oh, that was my best friend. If it was your best friend, you wouldn't lie to the grand jury. You wouldn't hide the truth. You would try to get justice for him, real justice, not this shit. This is crazy, absolutely crazy.
and suicidal stuff is because the last conversation she had with her husband at the time was an argument. I didn't feel like it was my role to.
Wait. Since when did this come up? When did this come up? See, you guys, all you Canton piece of mother chugging shit, you don't care about the outsiders. You only care about the insiders, the circle of trust, right? F all that dumb shit.
Really find out the details on what was said.
You know that the defense is going to rip into your
she said to me.
asshole, right? You know that the defense is going to rip into your asshole, right? Because I don't remember this being something that you mentioned last time. I don't remember that you mentioned that they had an argument. I don't remember you ever mentioning that, sir.
That the last thing she said to him was an argument?
Yep.
Sustained.
Did she tell you what the argument was about?
She did not.
Inevitably, did you get a chance to bring her to the hospital?
Shut the
We did.
front door.
Did
This
you
is
stay in the
God-
back of the ambulance with her?
I did.
Did you continue to have conversations with her?
Yes, I did.
Did you hear conversations?
And even with John's mother, okay, yeah, but she wasn't truthful. She didn't like Karen. She played it off as that whole situation like, no, I never said that. No, like it came off a little smug and like even her at the hospital, what's she doing here? Like, excuse me? Like, whoa.
So parts of conversation she was having with your colleague.
I had parts.
When you got to the hospital, what happens next?
Right.
So we brought Miss Reed into the hospital, registered her, bring her to the psychiatric section. Is it?
Thank you. I have no further questions.
I mean, the whole reason why they're going after Karen is because her mom blamed it on, his mom blamed it on her. Why'd you just leave him there? He's a 45-year-old freaking man. He's an adult. You can't control what another adult does. You'd like to think so, but you can't control them. If they want to do something, they're going to do it. She was waiting for him for 10 minutes. He stopped calling, stopped answering the phone, whatever. This is another speculation on my part. What if John went in there and and Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were like, "Oh yeah, buddy, come on," da, 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 and acted all cordial, trying to like sway him away from going to tell. Oh, I gotta go tell Karen it's okay to come in. No, come here, buddy. We'll just have we'll have Jen or somebody go out and tell her. You get what I mean?
Okay. Mr. Jackson.
And they never went out and got her because they knew what was up. And what's sad is they don't want to see the truth. Like, if that was my son, more than anything, I would want the truth. I would want the truth of what happened to him and the right people to be in jail, not just anybody, just because I don't like them. No. You're a horrible person if you're going to do that to somebody. Horrible. And then they act like John's forgotten in all this. No, he's not. That's why she's fighting so hard. The other day when she was on somebody else's panel, Karen Read joined the panel and she says, it feels like I'm the only one that's fighting for John. I wish the others would want to fight with me too. That's what's sad, is that she said that. She didn't say she's fighting for her. She said she is fighting for John. That stuck out to me. Like, she wants justice for John. Yes, she's brought in the middle of this, and yeah, she doesn't want to go to jail for something she didn't do, of course. But at the same time, she wants the truth to be revealed. Like, stop, because they got political stances with somebody. Stop with that they're a decorated dude. All this other dumb shit. Like, how about caring for the cop that lost his damn life and didn't need to? They could have called the freaking cop. I mean, they could have called the paramedics. They could have saved him. They could have, but they chose not to. They chose to put him on the lawn like a freaking bag of garbage. And then they got into all these paramedics' heads and all these other people's heads saying, "Oh yeah, dude, you don't recall that she said this and she said that." But it's going to come out in the grand jury. Like, you've testified in the grand jury. You've testified here. You've testified there. When did this come up?
I have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Is that freaking Jackson? Oh, he's going to lay into you, dude. Oh, he's going to lay into you. Oh, poor you, Jason Becker.
Good afternoon, Firefighter Becker.
Good afternoon.
When you first arrived at the scene, there was at least two Canton police officers there still.
Correct.
Do you remember their names?
Officer Saraf and Officer Mulvaney.
Okay. Their cruiser was there. You said that an engine was still there?
Correct.
And was there another ambulance there, or the other ambulance had already left the scene? They'd cleared.
Exactly.
They had already transported to the hospital.
Remind me.
And you know what? And I knew that Jen got to her. And this is how I mean, Jen says, "Oh, we've been through a traumatic experience." Well, so is Karen. And every one of you guys just stop talking to her. But she's seen right through you guys. She's seen right through you guys because you calling her crazy, you doing this, you doing that, all this other dumb shit. Now all of a sudden you and Carrie are buddy. Like, she's seen right through it. She's seen right through it. And her and Carrie never got along anyways. Like, Carrie didn't care. Carrie called her a glorified babysitter, saying that John said that. But in all, I think Carrie still had feelings for him. She went to junior prom with him. She still had feelings for him. She didn't think Karen was good enough for him. That's what I think.
You were an ambulance too.
And all it took was Jen to get in her ear and say, "Oh, you remember when we were sitting in the back of the car? Da 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 da. She made me make that Google search and all this other dumb shit." when they were filling out the timeline, according to John's mom, that you should fill out a timeline because they knew they were going to pin it on her. They knew. And so they got into each other. Jen got into Carrie's head. And that's why she was sitting there typing to freaking her sister and Brian Albert saying, oh, she's telling them everything. Like she's telling them all that I told her to say. I knew she got in Carrie's head. I knew it.
I was ambulance 2.
Got it. You parked behind the SUV where you ultimately made contact with Miss Reed, correct?
I think it was more in front of the SUV because the way the SUV was parked.
Got it. Got out of the ambulance, ultimately made contact with Miss Reed through the passenger door.
Correct.
Had a short conversation with her there.
I did.
You said it was maybe 5 to 8 minutes?
More like 5 minutes because of the weather conditions.
Okay, nothing of great consequence, I'm guessing.
The weather conditions doesn't fucking matter, dude.
Triage assessment?
Well, it's more of just introducing myself and asking her how she was doing.
Got it. And then there was one other person in the cab of the vehicle as well.
There was.
Female, male?
Female.
So there are 2 females, one Miss Reed, one another female. Did you see any other civilian females out there?
I didn't see.
Okay,
but
so at
Where's
least where
Jen
you
McCabe?
were, the contact that you had with Miss Reed and this other female, there was just 2 of them, not a third one.
From what I saw, correct.
Did you get the other female's name?
I not at the time. I did not.
Okay. Have you, by the way, have you since gotten her name?
Based on a conversation Firefighter Whitley and Miss Reed had back in the ambulance.
Got it. Okay. And who is that other person?
Miss Carrie Roberts.
Okay. When you first observed Miss Reed, did you note whether or not there was anything unusual about her physical appearance, meaning anything on her?
She did, yes.
Describe that for the jurors, please.
She had some blood around her mouth, her neck area.
At that point, were you concerned about, obviously you're concerned mainly about her safety and getting her safely to the hospital, correct?
That's correct.
Were you worried that that might be her blood?
Well, she had said that she had given CPR to her husband.
Okay, you jumped a question ahead. I was going to say, did she tell you that it was in fact not her blood?
She did, so that kind of, in a way, ruled it out.
Okay.
No injury for me.
And you didn't indicate, you didn't notice anything about her that looked like she was physically injured, physically in harm?
I did not.
Okay. She indicated that she had given CPR, mouth-to-mouth, attempts at mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
She did.
And that would account for the blood on her face and in her hair and
That
on her
breaks
neck.
my heart.
That's what she told me.
Okay.
That breaks my
And based on
heart.
your observations of her, you didn't have any reason to quarrel with that.
Correct.
Okay. You indicated that her tone was somewhat rapid and repetitive. Is that right?
It fluctuated. So at times it was, yes.
Which is
Did it
understandable.
appear to you at that time that she had gone through a pretty significant trauma as best you were trained at the time?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
A little
Yes.
bit more of a foundation. I'll give it to you.
Sure. Have you ever, in your course of training, seen individuals who have gone through some sort of a traumatic event?
Frequently.
Frequently.
I think so.
Everyone's
too,
different,
Pat.
though.
Understood.
too.
Obviously, everybody's got their own personalities and the way of dealing with those things, right?
Sure.
Have you been able
She's
to,
like
through
that
your
dancer
training,
girl,
assess
like
whether
The dancer girl that sits over with John's family, you know, that wears his pendant, wears 124 or 12490 on her neck all the time. She's like her. Like the girls couldn't get over John, I guess. You know what I mean? Like John was that charismatic, and that's cool. Like, but come on, and even his best friend, I think she had the hots for him. The blonde that had his godchild or whatever. Yeah.
your belief, your observations, if someone has gone through a relatively traumatic event, as opposed
John
to
just left an
someone
impression
going down
on
the
everybody.
sidewalk.
Yeah.
Okay. Did it appear at that time when you're interacting with Miss Reed that she was showing the signs consistent of having gone through a trauma?
At the time, yes.
Okay. So hence the rapid speech, the repetitive speech, things of that nature.
Correct. For her. For the defendant, some people don't have rapid repetitive
Understood. I'm
speech.
just talking about your observations of her at that time.
Yes, yes, sir.
Her demeanor was consistent with having gone through a significant trauma.
For the
Yes.
situation, sure, yes.
Okay. You said that she went from calmness to agitation. The agitation you accounted for being, I don't necessarily want to go to the hospital. I don't want to be sectioned, correct?
She felt like she didn't need to. It wasn't, she wasn't going to act on her comments about wanting to harm herself.
You called it, I think in a report, it's SI, suicidal ideation.
Correct.
That's obviously of great concern to you and your partners when you're assessing a patient, correct?
That's right.
You don't want to leave someone on their own if they're going to self-harm, correct?
That's correct.
You pretty quickly assessed, I'm guessing, Firefighter Becker, that she was not, in fact, in the position to self-harm, that I think you said that the statements that she originally made, if John dies, I don't want to live, were not necessarily at the level of actual suicidal ideation. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, at the time I believed her because of the information we got and what she went through.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand your answer.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Of course. It's probably my fault. At the time that you assessed her, even though she had made some comments about if John doesn't live, I don't want to live either, you did not elevate that to the level of her being suicidal at that moment.
So
Right.
I couldn't rule it out, but
okay.
He just didn't want to be. He wanted to be.
I didn't think it was a huge threat at the time.
Understood.
But we couldn't rule it out, so that's why we had to take her to the hospital.
Understood. I mean, you had a Section 12. You had to take her irrespective
No matter
of
what
you ruled in or out,
involuntary,
right? Okay.
no matter what. Yes, you had to.
Firefighter Whitley was with you in the back of the ambulance the entire time you were with Miss Reed, correct?
Not the entire time. He was before we decided transporting. He was kind of in and out, trying to find more of, talking to the police officers, find more of a story of, what happened, why we're taking the defendant on a Section 12.
Once you and Miss Reed were in the back of the ambulance, Firefighter Whitley then joined you in the back of the ambulance?
He did.
How much time lapsed?
It was a couple minutes at the most.
Okay, so it wasn't a lengthy amount of time.
It wasn't lengthy.
And he was with you during the transport, along with Miss Reed, for the whole transport back to Good Sam.
Yes.
And you said on direct examination, I think your phrase was, all in all, she was cooperative with us.
For the majority of the transport, yes.
Okay. Never became combative, never got physical, nothing like that?
No.
Okay. She did refer to Mr. O'Keefe as her husband or her spouse?
That's correct.
That was so she.
You're aware of
information.
HIPAA rules, obviously. You're in the medical field, correct?
Correct.
You're aware at the time that HIPAA rules would demand or dictate that unless you're a spouse or a parent or a child, there's certain rules against getting or providing information to someone who isn't one of those close family members, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You previously indicated on direct examination that, I think your words were, that Ms. Reed indicated that her last conversation she had with her husband was an argument, correct?
Correct.
You've previously testified about that statement in other particulars, right?
Let's go. I knew it was coming up.
You're paraphrasing. You didn't write down what she said about her previous interactions with Mr. O'Keefe, and you didn't record those on a tape recorder, correct?
I wrote down in my report that she said she had an argument.
Right. You didn't write them down at the time. That was a bad question on my part. You weren't taking notes as she was speaking.
No.
Yeah, it could have been. I mean, it's kind of for every call, we jot down notes on a notepad, just so, when we give the staff a report,
oh my God.
we can read off it.
Do you have those notes?
I don't.
Okay. Do you think you took notes or no?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I could have been typing them on the computer.
Don't
That's what we typed the
lie.
report on.
Don't
time.
lie.
Do you have an independent recollection of taking notes, either handwritten or on a computer, as you sit
I
here right
hate
now?
liars. I hate liars.
I couldn't tell you if I did one or the other.
I knew
Sometimes
it
I
was
write on the
gonna
computer,
come up.
sometimes I don't.
Or you might not have written anything down, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So in any event, you weren't taking down, even if you were taking notes, you weren't taking down verbatim quotes of what she was saying. You were paraphrasing the information that was coming to you, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Get a little.
You had previously said or testified that the last time,
I love it when they start
rephrase
fucking
that just a
itching
little
and
bit.
start doing that
you
shit.
previously
That shit is
indicated in
hilarious.
recounting what it was that Miss Reed actually said to you was something along the lines of she was upset because her last words to him were because of her last words to him being in anger.
I object.
I'm going to allow the question.
Is that correct?
Well, I probably phrased it a little wrongly. The last words. It was the last conversation.
Okay, that wasn't my question. My question is a simple one. In a previous hearing, did you use the phrase "her last words to him"?
Yes,
were
I
in
did.
anger?
I did.
And that was at a hearing where you're under oath,
And
just
it's
like you are
true.
now, correct?
Correct.
That was a little closer in
She
time
thought
than,
it was a
than
lie
we are now. It was
when
a
she was
year
leaving
ago,
those
correct?
messages.
Actually, my mistake. It was about 2.5 years ago. It was a grand jury, correct?
Grand jury was before. Yes.
Okay. And the phrase that you
But
used.
you know what's funny is okay. Most people that commit crimes, like that, hurt somebody, they're mainly calling and saying, "Oh, where are you at? I hope you're okay. Please get a hold of me as soon as possible." They're not screaming and saying, "You're a pervert. You're a pervert." They're not doing that because they're trying to cover their tracks. You know what I'm saying? So just like this whole case, anyways.
Was, and I want to concentrate on that for just a quick second, Firefighter Becker.
Sure.
The phrase that you used at that time was that she said, quote, like her last words to him. She was upset about her, quote, last words to him. Is that right?
I object.
All right, can I see counsel at sidebar, please?
Oh my God. Because she was yelling and screaming, "You're a pervert! You're a pervert!" Most people that are trying to cover their tracks that would purposely hit and run over somebody and leave them for dead and then go and find them the next day, they're not calling throughout the night, calling them a pervert and all this other stupid ass shit. Let's see if I can get past this sidebar. Oh, you and that sidebar, bitch. Maybe I'll be fast. Oh, here we go with the, see, they just put on the sympathy for them jurors. That's what they do. That's why they're over there. They shouldn't even be over there. In all honesty, I don't understand the dynamic. I think that they should be behind Karen and not on the side of her. But they are, face directly at the jury so they could, keep playing the sympathy card. Yeah, okay, yeah, it is your loved one, but you're not wanting real justice for your loved one. That's what sucks. You're not really wanting to see the truth. The Alberts have gotten in your head so far up your ass that you don't care. You're suing her when you should be suing them.
May I continue, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and then they play the sympathy card every time freaking.
When you were recounting the conversation that Ms. Reed indicated that she was upset about, you also indicated, in addition to using the phrase her last words to him, you also said that it was earlier in the night, correct? They had an argument earlier in the night.
I don't recall.
Of course you don't recall, you jackass. I'm so tired of this shit. Yeah, start
Yeah,
fidgeting
just a moment,
again.
Your Honor.
Yes.
He's trying to find this transcript to show him.
May I approach?
Yes.
Yep, I knew it. I knew he was trying to find the transcript.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, take a look at the top paragraph, very, very small print. Let me know when you've refreshed your recollection.
Yes.
Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
In your face, bud.
When you wrote your report, you had indicated that when she was describing the argument that you testified to on direct, it was about an argument that was, quote, earlier in the night.
Earlier in the night, correct.
Okay. And then you recounted that statement, that same statement in the grand jury later on as at least including, quote, her last words. Is that right?
Her last words.
You were talking about an argument that they had, and then she was upset, and you were paraphrasing her. And one of the things that you paraphrased was, in fact, your statement was she was upset that was like her last words to him, correct?
She said that.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh my God, dude.
Were you also made aware, did she tell you that her last words to him were in voicemails? Did she say that?
She didn't give any details.
Did you ask her, what were your last words to him?
I did not.
Did she ever say whether or not she believed he ever received her last words to him?
There's no other details than
Say that
there was no
again?
other details other than
So you
she
say
said.
argument when she's
But she did, when she was having this conversation with you about her last words to him, she did actually take out her phone and show you a bunch of missed calls to him at the same time, didn't she?
she tried to, yes.
Okay.
there you go, boom.
In your mind, did you put two and two together that what she was actually talking about were the missed calls and her being upset about her last words to him, being very angry on those missed calls, those voicemails? Did you put those two things together?
I didn't.
Okay. Thank you.
Then how is that an argument? How is that an argument? Get the fuck out of here. All those voicemails were when she was home at John's.
So when Miss Reed told you that she was sad because her last conversation or her last
Words.
thing that she had said to him was an argument, did she ever suggest that was in a voicemail?
Objection.
Did she ever suggest it was in a voicemail?
She did not.
Did she ever suggest that she didn't actually speak to him, but instead it was some type of message?
Objection.
Did she ever suggest that?
She did not.
In fact,
You allow anything.
you wrote a report saying that there was an argument earlier in the night, didn't you?
Objection. Your Honor.
Sustained.
You then were interviewed, weren't you? You
Yes.
interviewed on February 14th, 2022?
Yes.
And you referred to the fact that she told you there was an argument earlier in the night?
Argument early in the night.
And she was telling you this when you were speaking to her that morning?
Correct. Around 6 a.m. Yes.
And earlier in the night, do you know if she was referring to 12:30?
I did not know.
You don't know.
12:15?
Earlier in the night
No.
could have been
Or
just
midnight?
before they
I didn't
fucking
know the
went
time.
out. Dummies.
His answer is he doesn't know.
Fuck.
You testified in the grand jury, and Attorney Jackson just asked you some questions about part of the statement you made to the grand jury when he said, like her last words. Would you like to put that in context of the whole statement you made? Do you remember
Her last words.
Do you remember the entire statement that you made in the grand jury about the statement that was made to you?
I'd have to.
May I approach?
Yes.
This is page 81, lines 1 through 4. Please read it to yourself.
Right here, sir.
1 through 4, please.
I hate that he stands right there. I hate that he stands right there. The defense doesn't stand right next to him. It's almost like he's whispering something to him.
Yes.
Like, I don't like that. Like, what? He can't remember the
Now, when
lies
you
that
made
you
that
guys
statement you were
freaking
asked
put in
about in the
his
grand
head.
jury, you didn't just say, like her last words, did you?
No.
You explained your memory to the grand jury?
Objection.
Ask him what he told the grand jury.
Okay. The grand jury, do you know it was on April 21st, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And did you tell the grand jury? So she
Objection.
So I'm going to see counsel at sidebar first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck all the dumb shit. I'm getting so irritated. I don't like when he stands next to him. It's like, he's like, remember what I told you. Remember what I told you. I just don't trust anything the Commonwealth does. I don't. I mean, that's the whole reason why Morrissey got a freaking mob boss defense attorney, so he could defend his mob. Yeah, it's like, hey, remember what I told you type deal. Like, it's like, get away from the witnesses. Get away from them. Like, you don't see the defense sitting there and saying, oh, right there, you know, look at that.
May I approach?
Yes.
So I'm showing you that statement that you made.
Of course, he's going to let him do it.
Includes last words.
Get away from him, Brennan. I don't like that.
She was upset.
I'd like you to read
Oh,
your
sorry.
entire
Sure.
statement, 1 through 5. You can read it out loud.
So she was also she was upset also because she said they had, you know, the last time they had talked, she had gotten into an argument. So she was upset that that was like her last words to him.
That don't make it any better, dude.
And so when you were
Don't make it
speaking
any
about
better.
her last words to him,
The
were you
last
referring
words
to the
are
argument?
her.
Correct.
Her last words were argument type.
You testified
Yes.
again regarding this issue, didn't you, in May 3rd, 2024?
Correct.
And guess what? The feds didn't.
And at
believe
that
me.
point, did you think or believe that the conversation she was relating to you was about a voicemail? Objection.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Yeah, that's speculation.
Did you use the word again on May 3rd, 2024, argument? Objection.
Oh my
I'm going
God,
on
who
August.
cares?
I
Those
used
are his
argument.
words,
May I
not
approach, Your Honor?
hers.
Yes.
He was paraphrasing.
Can I ask you to read your prior statement on page 10? Line 9.
Get away from him.
Objection.
I'm going to see you at sidebar again and bring these documents, please. Bring all of it.
He's like, we got to get these lies in, Your Honor. We got to get these lies in, Your Honor. Let's get these lies in, Your Honor. I like that she's so involved in her defense. Like, most people are like, here, I'll let you handle it, not even, want to do their defense, help their defense. Like, I told you the story, now you defend me. Because most people that they take to trial is not like this, but this is horrendous. This is just whacked. I hate liars. Oh, wait, let's see if we can get through this damn sidebar. Let's see. I don't want to look at them. Ow. Ow. Wait, more sidebar shit? There we go. Because I'm done looking at them. They have less people over with them. Maybe because it was a short day. I don't know. Maybe more people are deciding.
When you spoke to the defendant and she shared with you that her last words with her husband were an argument, why didn't you ask for more detail about that?
I didn't feel it was
He's not a detective.
My, at the time, we went about the call as that we didn't, think we would be witnesses in a murder trial. We were there.
You know what's sad is like you guys all remember these arguments and shit, trying to vilify her. And that's what she remembers is she was yelling at him over voicemail. She was yelling at him over voicemail. She didn't know he was dead. The fuck?
To support Karen and ultimately
For all she knew is he probably came out later than that and already heard them voicemails. You know what I mean? Like for all she knew. It's just crazy.
About trauma, and you said that you observed that the person may be in trauma, Ms. Reed.
A traumatic event,
Traumatic event.
Right.
Do you have any idea what caused that traumatic event?
I did not.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Anything?
It wasn't her.
You indicated that you were asked on examination by Mr. Brennan.
So it was an argument. Her last words were argumentative.
12 or 12:15 a.m., correct?
That's what he asked, yes.
And earlier in the night could have been 6 o'clock p.m.
Yep.
Early in the night, yeah, correct.
Could have been 5 o'clock p.m.
Could have been.
Thank you, Jackson.
Sure.
Thank you.
You were also asked whether or not Ms. Reed actually specifically mentioned voicemails when she talked about those last words. And you said she didn't.
That I remember, correct.
But she did show you her phone.
She tried to.
And she did show you a bunch of missed calls to John O'Keefe, correct?
I wasn't going to look through her phone. I don't know who she called.
Thank you. That's all.
When she said
Oh my
about
God,
the
Brennan.
argument, she said those were the last words, the argument, right?
That's correct.
Sustained. All right. Jurors disregard that last statement. All right, you are all set.
All right. Thank you.
Is this a good place to stop for the day?
If the court pleases, yes.
Jurors, we could do 6 minutes, but I think this is probably a good place to start. So, as I understand it, folks, we're on schedule, right where we thought we would be. We're going to release you for today. Now, when I told you this morning, and I've told you other times too, that when you're out in that room waiting for us, we're in here getting work done to make things more efficient for the trial, especially a trial this long. We've decided that we're going to spend Monday afternoon again trying to streamline this trial and deal with issues that we have to deal with. So Monday for you will be a half a day. All right, so I just wanted to tell you
All these damn half days.
Please, again, those 3 cautions, do not discuss this.
And this
case
is
with
why it's
anyone.
going to take
Don't
forever.
do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything
See
about
if they
this
put
case,
anything on record
please
afterwards.
disregard it, let us know. And I guess the 4th caution is the same as I've been saying.
So
Please
they
be very
did
careful
2 fucking witnesses in a jury
Good
view
weekend. We'll see
today.
you Monday morning.
All rise for the court, please.
And I'd like to see counsel at sidebar, please.
Oh my God, why? Why sidebar? I mean, the jury's gone, bitch. See if they come back at all. Oh, that's a long sidebar. Is it the end? Is it the end, my friends? This is the end. Well, we'll see if they come back. I doubt they will. But yeah, so there was a jury view and 2 witnesses today. Jason Becker that says that they got in an argument. She was calm and then went to agitation. She was repetitively saying stuff. Okay, they're not coming back. I'll come up here now. Which, that's his own words. His own words, not her own words. And then the the blood serum, talking about the spinning or whatever is 11% higher alcohol test than whole blood test. That's what we learned, and all that mumbo jumbo. But yeah, this case is crazy, insane. I don't know what the heck is going on. I really hope that you guys hit the like, share the live, subscribe if you haven't. I'm on the road to 1K. I know, like, I'm a little YouTuber, and you know, I'm doing it on vertical where most of the okay, I don't know why I did that, but anyways, yeah, I know a lot more people do it the regular way, and they get more people in there. But I figured if I did it this way, maybe people on cell phones would join me. Whatever. I appreciate everybody that came through. Hit the like, shared the live. Again, please sub if you haven't. I will try it the normal way. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. Just like a little tester. I know that I'm featured from YouTube, so I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to get there. I will get there. So hope you join me on my journey. Not enjoy me on my journey. Join me on this journey. Because the more communication I get, the better I'll become. I'm an introvert, so this is hard for me, but I'm still trying to do it. Anyways, so let the ones you love and can care about know that you love and care about them, because tomorrow is never promised. And everybody, I will see you Monday. All right. Stay blessed. Bye.
Turn me up, AV.
Put your eyes on me, like the spotlight. Recognize me showing love, then got my grind right. Ain't never since day one the love been on side. And since you got my back, I got your back for life. Yeah, pretty honesty. Know just what it is, I got it on me. And you hold me down, you like my homie. Just know I got you down, just what it gon' be. Definition of bestie, definition of friendship, definition of rider, definition relentless. She's a strong woman, she's a sweet lady, she's a great mother, let your pain get aching. Yeah, I made that girl on YouTube, she never dims my light or put me in her dark mood. And I thank you, you appreciate, you're my favorite girl on YouTube, and I can't fake it. You still got faith in me, make me feel like big, DJ Khaled voice, pretty hot damn. Who still got faith in me, make me feel like big, DJ Khaled voice, pretty hot damn. Yeah. Met a little shawty on this show called BDP, you know what I'm talking about? Shit, we been cool ever since, my nigga, know what I'm talking about? Put your eyes on me, like the spotlight. Recognize me showing love, then got my